Before we get into that, let's talk about the censorship of the Great Barrington Declaration or the treatment in the media, because if people try to Google that, and there's been articles written about this, they get, they get a few pieces that vilify it. It's hard to actually find the declaration. It's hard to get facts about it. Maybe you can talk about what the experience has been like for you, first of all, to be unable to publish back in April in the journals in America. And then once you create the declaration, why can't I find it on Google search? Why do I have a hard time finding it on YouTube? Why did the mainstream media come out and call you, quote unquote, anti-lockdown or something deniers, using language that, that dregs up, Holocaust deniers? Tell me, you're part of this declaration. What was it like to experience this? And am I saying things accurately?
Well, I'm just a simple scientist, so I'm not used to the media. So it was a very surreal experience for me and my colleagues. If we look at the Google example, when I first Googled it just after it came up on the top, but then suddenly it wasn't on the top anymore. So it's something called shadow banning, which Google did, and then instead more recent pieces about the declaration that were very critical of it had kind of rose to the top. And then there were some complaints about, including one senator in the US. So eventually Google sort of reversed themselves, and it's now, I think, at least in the US, is the top if you search for Great Barrington Declaration. Compared to Bing, for example, there was never a problem with that search engine for the declaration. What's also happened is that I think people have a hard time actually coming up with good scientific arguments against the Great Barrington Declaration. So instead, they're using various smears.
Like what?
And both in the US and the UK media. What
did they say? What were they trying with the smears?
Well, you mentioned one of them, and there were things about mass murder and all those kind of things like that. And I try mostly to ignore it.
Yeah, what they do is...
the declaration speaks for itself, and I hope that people actually read the declaration as well as the FAQ that comes with it to explain things a little bit more in detail.
Yeah, unfortunately, Doctor, it doesn't speak for itself because people get their information from social media and from, we call them search engines, but let's be honest, they are agenda engines. And so I know you've written an incredibly comprehensive paper, backed by data that has a great FAQ section, but the problem is very few people will ever get to that. They'll see anti-lockdown, they'll see two people that signed your paper with funny names, and then they discredit the people that signed, and then they discredit maybe the people that created it, and then they kind of pass it on. That is what happened to a certain extent, right?
That is what happened. And another example that you alluded to was there was one journalist who was bragging about adding fake names to the signatories of the declaration. And then you have other journalists who come in and say, oh, there are a lot of fake names as signatories. So to me, that seems a very strange way of journalism to operate, why they would do those kind of in tandem. Some of the names were kind of funny, like Johnny Bananas and similar like that. And so there was some of comic to it, but I don't understand why journalists operate in that way. It seems to be very, very, very illogical or very strange. So,
yeah, welcome to the new era of journalism, where journalists taint the things that they're reporting about and then report about it. It's and we've seen this is the strange year when it's come to media. Doctor, I've been doing this for 9 years, having conversations just like this, unedited, unscripted, uncensored. And it wasn't until April of this year, on April 6th, where we had the second largest YouTube live stream in the world by one of my conversations. And that was subsequently banned and deleted on YouTube, and I've been censored ever since. So again, this is new to me. I thought it happened to all the weirdos and the crazy people until it happens to you. And again, the Great Barrington Declaration is written by, high-level professors from Stanford, Oxford, and Harvard, and yet still the press really went after you, and the mainstream media, they tried to to really bury the story, which must be a strange experience.
So at the same time, I think the declaration was in the success in the sense that I had tried for a long time, and many of my colleagues had tried for a long time to get out this message about public health and that we needed to do a different approach, and not just the three of us, many others. And we were often silenced or simply dismissed for whatever reason. So I think what makes the declaration different wasn't that we were saying anything new. What makes it different was that there were three of us, so it's harder to dismiss three people than one person. We all worked with infectious disease epidemiology, so they couldn't dismiss us as not being knowledgeable about the field. And we are all from three reasonably respectable universities, Oxford, Harvard, and Stanford. So they couldn't sort of dismiss us for that reason either. So they came in a situation where we couldn't be dismissed, and therefore we were attacked instead, I think.
Yeah.
It's better to be attacked than to be dismissed and silenced, I think.